Hello. Today we're going to talk about the importance of value studies. These are usually quick sketches simplifying the range of color, the range of value prior to maybe a painting, maybe a more finished sketch, watercolor, oil, whatever your particular medium is. I think value studies are extremely important to understand the depth, the three-dimensional quality, and just really the overall character of a drawing or a painting. So I wanted to talk about one way that I like to look at a value study, look at a subject through a more simplistic view, if you will. So today we're going to use some fairly simple tools. My base tool will be a Bic pen, and I'll lay out this structure, which is an historic building here in our downtown, the old Carnegie Library. Beautiful proportions, beautiful Gothic columns. Really love this building, and it always makes for a great subject. And to look at my values, I've chosen markers, grayscaled markers, light, medium, and dark. And we'll go through a series of layering, if you will. I'll do a quick sketch with my pen, just to get the layout, obviously, proportions and so forth. Then I'll work with those values, starting from light to dark, and build from there. It'll be a lot of fun. So one of the first things I do, I take this nice color photograph and I break it down into a more simple form, a black and white. And this really begins to squint your eyes, so to speak, as to where the values are. I've numbered, taking the three values I'm going to be using, light, medium, and dark, and I've numbered them accordingly on the sketch. 1 being the lightest, 2 your mid-tone, and 3 obviously your darkest darks. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Just wanted to show kind of a little process that I like to do on occasion. And the Copic markers keep you loose too, which I really like. And those of you who know me, I love to be expressive. I like to have loose, expressive ink lines on sketching. And my pre-pencil work on any watercolor or painting that I do is very loose, so that I don't get bogged down in detail. So let's start, if we will. Thought it'd be a lot of fun to do this today. So I'll move my subject off camera, and we'll work accordingly. of the building. Did I get the proportions right? Again, it's not my finished rendering. It's a study. It's a sketch more so. All right. So what I'll do first, I'll grab my lightest marker. Use the thick side. My lightest marker, and that's going to be my the face, the facade. Basically, see how light this is. Oh yeah, and it's going to smear the ink too, and which I'm going to like because that's going to give us, I think, a little bit more character. Let me start going in with some of my darks. There's a pretty substantial tree on that side. And there's also another architectural vertical element on that side as well. That we'll go ahead and plug in there. You begin to see it looks a little darker than certainly it looks a little darker on the camera than it is. This gable is fairly dark, as is the front. Darks there. So you can begin to really see this take shape. As the textures now start kicking in. What I like about the marker too is you can just use the ink lines, or use them like ink lines if you want to define some edges. And do that, still using the chisel point side, and again without really getting too bogged down. Get some column shadows there. The sidewalk looks as if it's more of a mid-tone, so we'll go with that. As with the street. And there's an adjacent building across the street, which will hit. Then I go with my third layer, which is the bad boy, the real dark, and we'll start really defining the depth of your subject. And this is when it starts really becoming three-dimensional. There's some just little architectural fenestration in that shadow. I'll just give it a slight definition. Same here, we've got a ridge line on this adjacent roof. We'll give some definition to as well. And this actually is probably a number 3 dark. Again, without a serious amount of time on details, I'm trying to just define where I would want my darks to show, so I can get that sense of depth in 3 dimension. My darkest darks, my lightest lights. This is these dark windows here. And then I've got some really heavy shadows back here that begin to differentiate from the mid-tone. You know, before any painting, this just gives you a sense of how to address, how to attack your subject in a simplistic way without having to deal with color, without having to deal with the complexity of color selection. It begins to refine some of your early thinking in a way that kind of looks cool, but also helps you make some of these decisions early too. And as I look at my drawing, I need more midtones. I need more midtones here. You know, some lines across the streets, texture, perspective lines. All this can add a little bit of character. Plus, what I really like is the fact that this sky is dark. So I'm going to commit to some heavy, or I should say heavier, play with this sky. Then I can begin to see where maybe I could use some additional shadows, maybe where not. You know, you can begin to have some fun. I mean, it's pretty dark. It looks like pretty dark on the screen. But I think overall it gives you a flavor of where you need to emphasize your darks. How do you begin to differentiate your darks? You can see how the sky really frames, you know, the sun angles in right in the facade of this building. So, you know, that's what you want to stay white. However that sky works out, it can when you do your final painting. But this is a lot of fun to just keep your mind moving, if you will. Get some looseness to your ultimate final product. There's a lot of texture, a lot of different techniques that you can bring forth to make sure you have that level of quality, and your observation of this subject was pretty true to what's there. And that's what you want to accomplish with just a fun exercise like this. So I think with that, we'll call it a day. I appreciate you bearing with me I think again, as a quick value study, this is something that can work. Try it. The Copic markers are fun, but any grayscale marker could work as long as you get a light, medium, and dark. And you can see how loose you go. This sort of loosens you up for your final product as well. So I certainly appreciate the time. This was a lot of fun, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.